Welcome back to the backyard with the Blizzard King. I know it's been a while since we've been back here. And I want to take the opportunity just to thank everybody for all my new viewers, all my new people who subscribe to the channel. As you see on the Blizzard King channel, which can be found at the Blizzard King, I take the opportunity to talk more about social issues, relationships. But the thing is, I particularly steer clear away from relationship advice just because, to me, it seems to me that most people, what they really want, as far as men, they want to know how to get as many, you know, beautiful or sexy or attractive women as they can. And then as far as women, they want to get, they want the secret to get as many wealthy men as they can, successful men that they're otherwise, you know, find desirable or attracted to. And that's really not relationship advice. That is it's something else, but it's not relationship advice. As far as my own personal desires, I'm more interested in legacy, which means I'm more interested in the quality of the woman as opposed to the quantity of the woman. And if I can take the opportunity now, I've done pretty well as far as the women that I have either married, engaged to, or even fathered the child with. Now, of course, no relationship is perfect, but it's hard to fail when you get yourself a high quality woman. Now, what's high quality to me is a woman who's educated, a woman who's beautiful, who's fit, who's feminine, who is cooperative, someone I can build with, someone who won't come in, really someone who won't come in and tear everything that I've built down. And so, you know, those are the type of women that I look for. It's very old school when it comes to values, and also a traditional woman who can get her own and doesn't mind doing what she has to do, you know, to take care of herself if need be. But for the most part, I'm more interested in legacy, and, you know, the choices that I make in women are going to be different than, I'm going to say, 95% of the men who are out here looking for relationships. And, you know, nevertheless, I find a lot of bad information being given out on the internet. So a lot of men think that women are attracted to men that ignore them. So the thing is, most women are attracted to the same type of man. They want him to have high social status. They want him to be physically attractive, outward projections of wealth or some sort of success. And those type of men are generally, most women are attracted to those type of men. And in an environment like that, I guess those men, if we want to treat it like a target-rich environment where a man has all these different options, he then has the luxury to ignore women that that aren't as attractive as the other women that are part of his option base. So it's not necessarily that the man is ignoring the women, it's that he, you know, they aren't up to par. So if another man comes in who doesn't fit the mold, who isn't part of, who is not the type of man that most women want to be with, he can ignore them all day and they won't care. You see, so they're above your level, so to speak. And you can ignore the women and they're happy that you're ignoring them, because typically women just want sexual attention from the men that they find attractive. Now, it's easy to get caught up being friends with the woman if you don't know any better. You know, she'll use you as as the type of man who's just hanging around her, and you can provide other sort of needs. You can be her emotional tampon, where she comes and tells you all the secrets that she would not otherwise share with her friend group. Maybe you're the person that consoles her when her man breaks her heart, or the man she likes breaks her heart. You're the guy that sits up and bad mouths the other guy. That's kind of like the friend zone. You go hang out with her, you guys might as well go shopping for pantyhose together because you're one of the girls. But you're basically what they call a male orbiter. Okay, you're just around her. You're there to pick her up and drop her off and fetch her drinks. And you don't want to be in that sort of position. It makes you look, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of resources, but it can happen to anyone. Doesn't matter how good you look, how attractive you are to a certain group of people. There's always another woman who will put you in a friend zone, so to speak. But my whole point being that, fellas, just ignoring women who don't find you attractive in the first place is not going to do it. It doesn't make you seem mysterious or anything. You're just not her type, and you have to begin to recognize that. A lot of men think that they can talk up on a woman, and what they really mean is they can throw a lot of lies and misdirection. They call it game. They can mesmerize her with her tongue, but at the end of the day, if you are the type of man that has zero substance, you don't have the resources, you don't have the finances. You might be able to have sex with a woman, but it's really all you're doing is wasting her time and wasting your time, because it's really, as far as, making a family or having a relationship, it's not really much you can do because you're not prepared as a man to even accommodate a woman or a relationship, you see. And so I never wanted to be bothered with that. I never wanted to waste my time with a woman that I wasn't ready to handle or deal with, or either serious relationship. I typically have always been focused on my personal success, wealth, the accumulation of power, and those sort of things. That's kind of where I've been. Never been what we used to call back in the day a cockhound, just chasing women, having sex with women just for the sake of it. Nevertheless, I have had my share of beautiful women, but that just kind of comes with time. Now, the same thing applies to women, ladies. And this is hard to hear for a lot of people. A lot of women think that, they'll meet a man or they'll meet a woman who has a successful man, who's wealthy, who's handsome, who's attractive physically, maybe tall, whatever. And then they'll proceed to ask his girlfriend or wife or fiance, well, where'd you meet him? And she'll say, well, I met him in a cigar bar. I met him at a happy hour, or I met him through a friend. I met him online. And the women will think, oh, okay, so that's the key to meeting successful, successful, handsome, wealthy men. But the problem that ladies don't realize is that just because this woman was able to meet this man and proceed to have a relationship with this man, it doesn't mean that you as another woman can do that. See, here's the reality that a lot of women don't want to face, that men have to face all the time. You're not attractive enough physically. You don't have the right pedigree. And so even if you were in a room full of men who are, successful, wealthy men with a high social status, they would look right past you. And, a lot of women refuse to accept the fact that they are not, they're not good enough in that regard. And some of you are even offended by me saying that, but, you have to understand what your level is. And trying to date someone above your level is really just going to get your heart broken. Now, you have to take an honest assessment of yourself, just like men have to take honest assessments of themselves. When you start dealing with elite men, and I'm not talking about football players, I'm not talking about entertainers, okay? Because see, all money is not the same, okay? You have uh, some very wealthy people who can look right past your outer exterior and look at your ghetto heart. Okay, they can look at your ratchet nature. And whether you are Beyonce or Sexy Red, they don't want to date you, and they don't want their sons to date you or your daughters and have anything to do with you, irrespective of how popular you are, how much money you have. Now, again, that's old school, okay? And you guys have to understand that Uncle D is old school. Uncle D is concerned about legacy. The things that I talk to my sons about as related to relationships is going to be far different than what the typical American, especially the typical black American, talks about. See, here's the difference between them and me, and I'm going to tell you guys something, and some of you may be offended. I typically want my children, my sons, to marry women of African descent. Now, some of you are saying, well, hey, what's wrong with dating out of the race? Hey, nothing wrong. It's good for you. But I want my legacy to be one of a black man who had black sons, who has black grandchildren and black great-grandchildren. So what I instill in my children is, hey, I don't really care what kind of black she is. She can be black American black. She can be African black. She can be Caribbean black. She can be Afro-Latino, West Indian black. And to some degree, she can be mixed or biracial. But my goal is for my sons to marry women of African descent and of a certain class level, okay? Which means that we're going to look deeper than how she looks. I want to know what her mom does. I want to know what her dad does. I'd like to know that she grew up in some sort of stable environment with loving parents who instill certain values in her. I don't expect my sons to rush into a marriage. I want to know, and these are the things that I ask my sons to look into. Now, of course, I have a 17-year-old, 15-year-old, and a 9-year-old. So, there's only so much understanding that they have about relationships. But these are the values that I instill in my son, because I'm not looking out just for my own personal, or they shouldn't be looking out for their own personal satisfaction. They should be looking out for their children and their children's children. This is the woman that's going to raise your children. This is the woman that's going to raise your grandchildren. Now, some of you are saying, well, how do you manage to do that? Well, there's also other things you can do. For instance, my sons will be incentivized to do what is in the best interest of our legacy, be via financial means, trust funds, inheritance, those sort of things. You get rewarded if you do what is good and what's sustainable for the family and the family legacy. And if you do that and you stay on the right path, fine. See, marriage is not about the individual. Marriage is about legacy. Marriage is about family. Marriage is about passing down family wealth. Okay, these are the decisions that I'm making. Marriage is a business. Why would you spend your entire life as a black man building yourself up just to go out and marry a white woman, and then those children that you have to deal with the issues associated with being a biracial child, and that wealth then go to that white woman? Look, fellas, I know you're angry with me for saying this, but that's the way I think. I'm telling you guys all the time, my preference is that you marry women of African descent. However, if you find a woman, whatever ethnicity she is, Hispanic, white Hispanic, white European, Asian, whatever she is, if you find a woman that treats you with respect and love and admiration and gives you deference, then you would be a fool for passing her up. I'm telling you what I'm doing over here, okay? Over here with Uncle D and my family. My priorities are different. So this is why I very rarely give advice. because many of you all don't see the things the way I do, because again, I'm concerned about legacy, okay? So, I want to make sure you understand that. Legacy is what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about progeny, okay? Or my progeny, I should say, my children and my children's children. And part of being a good man and a good patriarch is making sure I guide my sons into making the right decisions for their legacy and for their progeny and what will be my grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Now, that being the case, my daughters, as you guys know, I have a very young, beautiful, successful wife, and she herself is a lawyer, recently passing the Texas bar and soon to be taking and passing the Florida bar. And, I anticipate that I may have some more children, and those more likely than not will be girl children. I'm going to tell you now, I expect my wife to raise my children, my daughters, in a very traditional manner where they are taught to cook and clean and serve the men in their family, including their brothers and their father. So by the time they turn 18, they'll be ready to be married off to, yes, right? No 304 phase for them. They'll be ready to be married off to successful, wealthy men, hopefully of African descent. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all mad? Don't be mad at me. Okay? Don't be mad at me. I expect for them to be physically fit, slender, okay? Cooperative. And I don't mean just skinny. I mean literally physically fit. I mean, I want them to be athletic to a certain degree, and part of that means that they need to be involved in, rigorous physical activity like stuff, softball, baseball, volleyball, things that girls do. I will definitely involve them in the fighting sports like jiu-jitsu, because when a high-value man meets my daughters in 18, 19, 20 years, as she is either in college or matriculated, he's going to say, now that is a valuable woman. That woman there, that's what I want. Okay? Now, some of you have a problem with that. Again, I want you to look at me in all four of my eyes. Okay? I got my glasses on. I'm not like you. I'm concerned about legacy. Now, some of you say, well, what if she needs to be able to live her life? Okay, you can do that. You can go and live your life. You can go out there and you can be a 304 and you can contract all the STDs you want. You can become a baby mama 2-3 times over. That's your choice. Will you have my blessing? No, you won't. You're going to be out there on your own. You're just going to be a lost child of Uncle D. All right? And I've explained the same things to my sons. You will be a lost son of mine. You'll be out there. The world will beat you up and roll you around in the dirt. Don't come back here. Now, see, some of you are like, oh, that's so harsh. Again, I'm not like most of you all. I'm not that open to it. There's really only a few paths to successful relationships. And I'm going to tell you now, no man of any substance wants a 304 for a wife. Any man who is willing to settle for a 304 for a wife is a man of low substance and low self-esteem. And those are not the type of men that I want to father my grandchildren. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to explain this to my daughters, and my beautiful wife will explain it to them, because this is what she did. Okay? You don't allow yourself to be the used and abused by any man. You get yourself ready for your husband. From the time these girls are old enough to walk, I expect them to be learning how to cook, learning how to clean, learning how to be cooperative, learning to be respectful. Because it's a hard road for women out there who don't have a good husband to take care of them and help them reproduce successful children. It's a hard road. You see women online right now. They fell into the trap of I'm strong, independent, and I don't need a man, and now they're suffering. We are in a situation now where over 50% of American women who fell for the boss chick, boss babe lie are realizing that they're going to be single and alone. And yeah, they might be target practice for some younger men, well up into their 50s. But at some point, they're going to be ignored, not just by men, but by society as a whole. There's really not much that a young man can do, even a man who's in his 50s can do with a 50-year-old woman unless he needs a nurse or a purse. In other words, she's there to help take care of him in his old age after he's been run down, either through money or helping him take care of his health needs. So I want my children, I want my daughters especially to understand that that's the reality that we're dealing with. Now, a lot of men are not like me. A lot of men are not going to shoot straight with you, but I'm a father. I'm a father, and I know how this world works. It's a harsh world. It's very hard on women, even women with education. There's going to be at some point a longing when you start getting to a certain age, especially women who have no children. You're by yourself, and these other friends of yours, they're going to go off with their families and their husbands, and they're going to have their children and their grandchildren. And the only thing you're going to get is just more age. And that's the reality. And so what we want to do here is we want to create an environment where we have intelligent young women who present themselves at their purest form, at their most attractiveness, typically between the ages of about 18 and 24, and they lock themselves a good high-quality man down. That's what I want for my daughters. And as far as my sons, I expect them to build themselves up and to be the best men they can be. Again, my preference is not your preference. My preference is for my children to marry people of African descent, high-quality people, because our high-quality people usually produce high-quality children. And if you're concerned about your legacy, then you would want high-quality children, healthy, intelligent, physically fit, good character when it comes to morals. This is what I want for my family. This is what I want for my legacy. So, again, I don't give relationship advice because my relationship advice is going to hurt modern men and modern women's feelings. It's going to point out to you that you made some mistakes. Because, fellas, you're the ones that decide to get that 304 chance. You're the one that decided to give the chick who had 3 kids by 3 different men a chance. And then you had a baby with her. And, looking at the type of men she chose before, she was low caliber in her decision making, and she chose those sort of men. And you jumped right in there, and now you're dealing with it. Ladies, you don't like me saying what I said about me wanting my daughters to get married at 18, 19, 20, or at least get in a serious relationship with a man who is going to marry them at the point where they become adults, because you didn't do that. You decided to go out and have sex with different men, and now you have an STD. You decided to go out and have a bunch of relationships, and now you got a horrible reputation. You have all that emotional baggage associated with dealing with all these different men who didn't care enough about you to keep you, and they just used you. Or some of you got pregnant by men that, if you had the proper guidance, or if you had listened to people who were trying to tell you at the time that man is no good, you wouldn't be left with a child that you have to take care of. In a dating environment where men are typically saying, hey, I don't want to date women who have children. That's too much financial responsibility. And men like me, I see a lot of folks saying that they try to say, oh, real men or wealthy men don't care if you have children. That's a lie. Because I see children as a responsibility. I take fatherhood seriously. Anybody in my house, whether we're talking about a person or a cat or a dog, they're under my authority, control, and protection. I'm responsible for them while they're here. So what that means to me is that I have to take care of these children that you bring into my house. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I can't treat your children the way I treat my own. I'm not going to do it. Case in point, last year, I bought my 17-year-old son, I think it's a 300 series Mercedes-Benz. It wasn't brand new, but it's nicer than most of the cars that most of the adults in my community drive. This year, I brought my 15-year-old son a 500 series BMW. 15. Okay? I'm not going to do that for your children. Matter of fact, I'm not going to do that for children who don't fall in line and follow my instructions as to how they should operate. Now, the thing about me is I only give advice that's beneficial to the person. I'm not going to give you advice that's beneficial to me. Okay? In that, yeah, I'm concerned about the legacy, but what I mean is I'm not going to make you skip school because I need you to come change a flat tire on the side of the road. That's not what I do. What I do is say, hey, you need to get good grades, and we need to send you to this testing center so that you can study for the SAT. Okay? And I'll pay for it. You see? Because so with my advice also comes financial support, emotional support, and advice. And if you don't choose not to follow that advice, that's fine. You're on your own. You see? And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people give you advice, but they don't give you any support to go along with that, neither financial or emotional. They'll tell you, you need to get out there and work harder. You need to get out there and get a job. I tell you, get out there and get a job. I'll give you a job. You see? But you just got to go to the job. That's the type of person I am. Again, I'm not like a lot of modern men. I'm not like a lot of, I'm old school when it comes to that. I have a different value system, one that has withstood the test of time. I'm a true patriarch of my family. I put my money where my mouth is. Okay? And that's why in this society, I'm successful. A lot of men, you let women dictate to you how you should operate. You allow your emotions and, your sexual needs govern your moves. And that's always a bad thing for a man. But, I just think that people who have successful relationships and who have a value system that is focused on legacy should be the ones giving advice, not people who are driven by their sexual needs, not people who have these divergent sexual relationships. I don't think those are the type of people that should be giving relationship advice for people who want to have successful families. And basically what I'm telling both the men and the women is that you need to raise your standards if you are concerned about your legacy. Now, if you want to continue on the path that we're on, where we have, 70% of women having children out of wedlock, less than 50% of women, or over 50% of women are single and childless, black men marrying out at an all-time marriage rate. And then you also have the situation where, you have highest rate of STDs going on in the black community. And you can keep going on the path that you want. You keep on going on that path. That's where you're headed. Now, if you want some good common sense and some good advice, if you truly want to get married and you're not just doing it, ladies, if you're not just getting married because you want to be princess for a day, you want to just put on your to-do list that, oh, I got married, even though the marriage fails 3 years later, Okay, fine. Fellas, if you want to marry the right type of woman who you can actually build a family with, then you should maybe follow the advice of the people who came before you who had successful relationships. Now, that being the case, everybody to each his own, okay? You got people from all walks of life who get together and have sustained relationships. Um, but for the most part, what I'm trying to give you is a standard blueprint that helps you enter into a relationship that withstands the test of time. We all make mistakes, we all misjudge. But the thing is, you should at least know what you're looking for. You should at least have a determination of what you want. Now, if you enter into a relationship with somebody and they fooled you a little bit, it might be something different. But not everybody will do. That's the main thing you need to understand. Not everybody is marriage material. And that's another thing that folk need to realize. Some of you men who are out there, some of you may be listening to this broadcast. Sometimes men, some men aren't marriage material, at least not at this point. And some women aren't marriage material. It's not saying you can't change your ways. There's always a redemption arc, even for the worst of villains, okay? But you need to recognize where you are. And, but that being the case, man, I appreciate you all. I look forward to reading the comments, man. I hope you all have learned this lesson. Again, I'm not trying to judge you. I'm not trying to tell people the way you do things is wrong. I'm just telling you the way I do things. Because I see a lot of social media folks giving relationship advice, and these people they're ex-crooks and criminals. They're lesbian, they're gay. A lot of men who are effeminate, they cheat, and a lot of women out there. You don't need to take advice from those people. You don't need to take advice because they're skewed in their vision. They don't really have a wholesome view of marriage relationships. Many of them have psychological issues, and they don't have any success. You see, that's the thing. I have a track record of success being a father and being in a successful relationship and a businessman and a lawyer. And it's not like I just married my high school sweetheart, which is an easy thing to do. You just married the first one available. You didn't go out there, build yourself up, become the best man you could be, and then find somebody on that caliber. See, at this point, I can call, I play, I can call my shots. I know what I want and I know what I deserve based on my accomplishments. If you just marry somebody right out of high school or very early on in life, well, y'all just built y'allself. She was there with you when you were building yourself together. She probably helped you build yourself up, you see? And that's cool. There's a path for that. But what about the men who built themselves up, got to where they are supposed to be at this high level, and then they say, okay, now let me find a woman that's equally yoked. Let me find a woman that's on my level. That's a more challenging thing. And so that's why I tell you young men especially, look, don't even think about getting in a serious relationship until you get well into your 30s, darn near 40 years old. After you've built yourself up, got to the point where you are a successful man, and then you can say, hey, this is the type of woman I deserve. As far as women, ladies, I know this is hard to hear, but you're going to be at your most attractive level between about 18 and 24. Those are your years to lock down a high-value man. Those are your years to get the best high-quality man you can get. I'm not saying you won't get lucky, 28, 29, 30 years. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's very rare, because by the time you get to that age, the men that you would be looking for are in their 40s and 50s, and they may be looking for a woman who's closer to her 20s or her early 20s, because that's what men like. And you don't have to like that fact, but that's the play on the field. And either you play by the rules, or you get put on the bench. That's what men like. Men like women who are between the ages of about 18 and 24. And I'm not, even little boys. They did a study and it showed that even little boys like women who are in their 20s. 2020, I think 20 or 21 was the favorite age, from little boys all the way up to grown men, well up into their 50s and 60s. That's when a woman is her most attractive, around about 20, 21 years old. From little boys all the way up to grown men. That's it. That's that range. So somewhere between 18 and 24, you need to be locking down the best man you can get. You need to do that. And you need to be purposeful. Just like you purposely go out and start businesses and work on your education, you need to be purposely looking for high value men. It doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter if you're in a cigar bar or a grocery store. If you fit the bill and he sees you and the environment is appropriate, he'll come get you. If you out there looking like a 10, it doesn't matter where you are. You see? Fellas, it does not matter if you ignore women. If they don't like you, they don't find you attractive, you can ignore them all day. They're happy that you're ignoring them. In fact, they don't even want your attention. So again, part of this broadcast that we talk about here is understanding your level, taking a good look in the mirror and seeing where you are. And, you know, sometimes there is no level change to happen. If you 5'2", 180 pounds, fellas, and that's just where you are, you're going to be limited. Ladies, if you 5'2", 180 pounds, you can't expect to pull down a multimillionaire. That's your level. Find somebody on your level and deal with it. I have some natural advantages. Physically, I'm 6'4", big, strong man, relatively handsome most days. And so I have some advantages. I know my level. But, you know, again, to each his own. I appreciate you. I hope you appreciate this broadcast. This is the Blizzard King with the ice cold truth. And as always,